Discover the incredible secret revealed. One night changed 10,000 lives forever. Feed your soul. The wind howled like a pack of wolves, rattling window panes and illuminating dark skies with flashes of thunderous light. In a small, unremarkable garage in Middle America, Ryan, a weary mechanic, hardened by sweat and tears, stood knee-deep in tools and broken dreams. At 28, the weight of adulthood pressed down on him, heavier than the grease-stained overalls he wore. He cast his eyes down at his mother's empty chair, the space she'd occupied fading into silence. Every day was a struggle, a battle between the hope of a brighter future and the harsh reality of unpaid bills. He dreamed of opening his own auto shop, a place filled with laughter, the smell of fresh oil, and a spirit of camaraderie, but the echoing judgments of his neighbors stung like salt in an open wound, reminding him that he was just another burden on this tight-knit community. "Why can't he just get a real job?" they'd murmur, their whispers sharp, their eyes cold. The engine of ambition sputtered like an old pickup in a rusted garage, barely running. Then, just as despair threatened to crush his spirit, the storm hit with catastrophic fury. Rain lashed like angry fists, and winds roared louder than voices of doubt. As homes began to crumble and lives were thrown into chaos, something unbelievable happened. The very neighbors who once looked at him with contempt now stood shoulder to shoulder in the rain, helping each other fix what the tempest had destroyed. Fearing that he'd never be more than a mechanic without a dream, Ryan realized he could do something. He stepped outside, heart pounding, and joined the fray. That night, he repaired a soldier's truck, a lifeline to his freedom. He tended to a single mother's minivan, knowing it was the only way she could get her children to school. He fixed a local farmer's broken tractor, understanding that his crops depended on it. With every vehicle he repaired, hope blossomed in the rain-soaked air, bridging chasms of doubt and regret. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the storm began to calm, the glow of kindness enveloped Ryan, thawing decades of icy perceptions. Neighbors expressed gratitude, their faces lit with newfound respect. But joy was fleeting, for soon an outsider appeared, promising riches with a shiny corporate auto dealership that breathed disdain for small-town pride. Tensions ran high, Ryan's heart raced. He stood at a crossroads, brimming with doubt, questioning if he should pursue his dream or protect the fragile connections he'd forged. With courage ignited, Ryan dug deep to reveal that the town's history ran alongside his family's sacrifices, fought for every inch of the land and bond they built. In that tense moment, the air thickened, spawning an overwhelming connection that could either unite them or shatter everything to pieces. Would he chase the shadow of his dream or embrace the legacy that intertwined their lives? His voice cracked, revealing vulnerability as the townsfolk watched with bated breath, the night holding its collective heart in suspense. In that charged silence, Ryan sensed the whispers of a future waiting to unfold. Ryan took a deep breath, looking into the eyes of the townsfolk, a kaleidoscope of hope and uncertainty reflected back at him. He saw not just faces, but a web of shared history, the laughter of children playing, the tears shed over lost years, the resilience that bound them through the trials of life. It was more than a community, it was family. Whatever path he chose, it wouldn't just affect him. It would ripple through every heart around him. "Here's the thing," he began, his voice shaking with the weight of his words. "Building that dealership, it wouldn't just be business. It would take away the soul of our town." The murmurs around him hushed, the electricity of shared understanding sparking to life. "We've always supported each other. This isn't just about whether I can succeed as a mechanic. It's about keeping the bridge that connects us strong." One neighbor, a woman named Martha, stepped forward. Her hands were weathered but steady. "But Ryan, what about your dreams? We see your talent. Don't bury it. You deserve to thrive in what you love." The sincerity in her voice struck a chord deep within him. He understood, in that moment, the delicate balance he had to strike, his ambitions aligned with his community's needs. As he prepared to respond, a heavy rumble of thunder resonated, echoing the weight of the decision looming over him. He glanced at the sky once more, its darkness seemed to reflect the turmoil within. What would his choice bring? Would it be light or more storms? Every face was filled with anticipation, waiting for his answer. I want to open my own shop, sure. But I want it to be a place for all of us. A refuge for our community, where dreams no longer feel out of reach. With every word, determination surged in his chest, igniting a fiery passion that had long felt dormant. Let us build something together. If we pool our strengths, we can transform this town into a beacon for all those who felt forgotten. Cheers erupted, breaking through the dense tension in the air. Laughter mingled with renewed hope, smiles blossoming like wildflowers after a storm. But even as joy flooded the space, a shadow loomed, a reminder of the corporate giant waiting to swoop in. The war for their town was just beginning, and the stakes were higher than ever. As Ryan's vision took shape, he felt a sense of confidence he hadn't known in years. They rolled up their sleeves, crafting plans that combined each individual's strengths. Ryan's background in mechanics blended seamlessly with Martha's knack for logistics, while others lent their creativity and marketing skills. What emerged wasn't just an auto shop, but a hub of community spirit. Yet, in the midst of determination, doubt lingered. Could they really fend off the dealership's lure? Could their gathering storm of unity withstand the fierce winds of change? As the voices around him swelled, Ryan felt a surge of optimism, but the gauzy veil of uncertainty remained. The community's warmth surrounded him but didn't shield him from the reality of what lay ahead. They had momentum, but was it enough? Before the weight of that question could settle in, a familiar face appeared at the edge of the crowd, a figure that sent a chill down Ryan's spine. It was the corporate representative, smug and sharp, eyes glinting with resolve. What do you think you're doing here? Ryan shouted, the tension snapping as all eyes turned toward the newcomer. Just checking on my investment, the man replied, a smirk on his lips. You really think you can outmaneuver us? With the challenge hanging in the air, Ryan squared his shoulders. The town had already proven its mettle in the storm. They wouldn't back down now. But how? The moment had arrived, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Could Ryan rally his neighbors and claim their shared dream, or would they buckle under the weight of corporate greed? The answer would define their future and Ryan's legacy. Listen here, Ryan said, holding his ground, gaze locked on the corporate guy. The crowd stirred, alive with the energy of anticipation and fear. He could feel their eyes on him, the weight of their hopes wrapped tightly around his heart. You're not welcome here, he continued, his voice steady. This town doesn't need your kind of business. We're fighting for something real. The representative chuckled, an empty sound that echoed against the backdrop of growing tension. Real? You think your little shop can compete with the resources we have? You'll crumble. It's just a matter of time. For a moment, doubt crept in. The enormity of what they were up against felt almost paralyzing. But he remembered those faces, their stories. Ryan took a deep breath and let his words fly, fueled by the strength of belonging. You don't know our people. You don't know this community. We're not just a market for profit, we're family. We'll fight for each other till the end. The townsfolk murmured, the passion in Ryan's voice sparking a fire in their bellies. Martha stepped in beside him. He's right. We're more than just numbers on a ledger. Yes. Came the response from the crowd, voices rising like a chorus, filling the air with bravery. The corporate representative frowned, distraction flickering across his face. You're naive. We'll put up a shiny new building, just watch. People flocked to that. Then we'll show them what loyalty means, Ryan shot back, heart racing. We'll create a place that speaks to your soul, not just your wallet. We'll dig deep and make it a home. All at once, a wave of determination washed over the gathering. People began to share ideas, what they could offer, what support they could lend. James, a retired school teacher, mentioned hosting workshops for kids to learn about cars. A retired veteran could lead a community road safety program. Connections sparked in every corner. Ryan's heart soared. They were building something bigger than a shop, they were building a movement. But the representative stood unimpressed, his smirk fading slowly into a wary glare. You think your little projects will hold up against millions? They'll come for what they want. Let them try, Ryan replied defiantly, sensing the resolve settling into the crowd. We're ready to stand up for our home. And together, we'll dig our heels in. The corporate man huffed, straightening as he prepared to leave. You'll regret this. With that, he sauntered backward, eyes still piercing as he retreated back into the shadows of the gathering storm. The crowd erupted into cheers, celebrating the small victory, but Ryan felt a flicker of uncertainty. This wasn't over, the battle had only just begun. Let us keep moving forward, he said, turning to everyone. We need a plan. We need to show this guy we mean business. The gravity of the situation settled in. They needed resources, and every second counted. But amidst the exhilaration, a gnawing question gnawed at him. How would they truly defend their town against such a giant? As excitement buzzed around him, unease stitched tightly within, knowing their collective spirit might not be enough. Just then, Martha approached with a determined look. I know a guy, he might be able to help us. Ryan's heart skipped. What kind of help? What do you mean? He asked, curiosity piquing. Her eyes glinted with hope. Just trust me, Ryan. This could change everything. As they walked back to the group, Ryan glanced over his shoulder, where the corporate man had disappeared into the shadows. The storm of uncertainty was brewing, but there was one thing he felt certain of, everything hinged on what Martha was about to reveal. Would they uncover the key to saving their town, or was this another trap laid by the corporate giant? Ryan shifted his weight, his curiosity battling the whirlwind of anxiety in his chest. Martha's demeanor was more than just serious, it was laced with conviction. He knew her well, this was not a woman who made promises lightly. Who's the guy? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper, as they walked past familiar faces. He could feel the tension mounting again. The townspeople were still buzzing, but Ryan's thoughts were scattered, darting around the possibilities of what Martha would say next. A local businessman who used to fight against the big corporations, she replied. He has got connections and knowledge about what they're really up to. I think he could help us strategize. Ryan felt a spark of hope, but it was quickly clouded by more questions. Is he trustworthy? She nodded firmly. He wouldn't harm our cause. He believes in community, just like we do. All right, then let us meet him, Ryan said, his resolve hardening. They pushed through the crowd towards the diner at the corner of Main Street, a hub of connections and shared stories. The gathering began to disband, but their electric energy lingered in the air, wrapping around them like a shield. Inside the diner, the smell of coffee and freshly baked pie wrapped around them, drawing out smiles and laughter, if only for a moment. The usual clatter of cups and cheerful chatter filled the room, yet everything felt amplified as conversations faded, eager ears leaning in when Martha began to speak. This is Ryan, she introduced, eyes sparkling, and I know you're familiar with the challenge we're facing. We need your advice. The man Larry was in his 60s, a rugged look framed by salt and pepper hair. His worn hands cradled a steaming mug. I hear they're planning something big, but let us start with your goals. Ryan took a breath, gathering his thoughts. We want to show them that our community matters more than their profit. Good, Larry encouraged, his voice steady. But we need to play smart. When they see you're organized, they might hesitate. Let them think they're dealing with a disjointed group. Martha chimed in, her voice like steel. What do we need to do? Larry leaned in closer, eyes glinting. First, you gather intel. Find out exactly what they're planning. Talk to the folks who work for them. There's always someone willing to share. As they divulged ideas, a plan started to form, one that felt tangible. The urgency flickered in Ryan's chest. They discussed organizing teams for different tasks: outreach, surveillance, and maybe even a protest that would showcase their strength and unity. Over coffee and pie, hopes began to rise, igniting their resolve. But doubt lingered like a shadow over Ryan's heart. What if they couldn't uncover the truth? What if they were outmaneuvered before they could even begin? Suddenly, a loud bang jerked him from his thoughts. The diner door swung open. It was the corporate representative, back with a smug grin etched across his face. Well, what is this little meeting about?" he drawled, his eyes scanning the room like a predator sizing up its prey. Ryan's heart raced, a cold dread settling in his stomach. The man had come back, and the air felt thick with confrontation. Why hadn't they seen this coming? "Leave us alone," Ryan said firmly, but his voice trembled despite his attempt to sound authoritative. "That's cute," the corporate guy sneered. "But let us be honest, you're all just a bunch of dreamers. This town is nothing without progress." As he stepped further into the diner, confidence oozing from every move, Ryan's instinct screamed for action. He glanced at Martha and Larry, both of whom wore expressions of disbelief and rising anger. Could this be the moment they folded, or would they stand their ground? Ryan felt the weight of his choice pressing down on him, knowing that the fight for their community's future had just taken a sharp turn. "Let us show him what we're made of," Ryan said, gathering courage before the inevitable confrontation. In that instant, the diner felt charged with potential, like the calm before a storm. Ryan realized they were on the brink of something bigger than any of them had anticipated. What would they do now? Would they stand firm against the giant, or find themselves cowering in the face of adversity? Ryan's heart thundered in his chest as the corporate representative's eyes bore down on him. Here was the confrontation they dreaded, yet it felt like a moment they had always known was coming. The weight of the diner's silence pressed heavily against his shoulders. The weight of their community's hopes felt like an echo that reverberated through him. "Listen," he started, but the corporate man cut him off with a laugh. "Cute speech, kid. But what are you really going to do? Hold a bake sale?" His words dripped with mockery, and Ryan could feel the heat rising in his cheeks. Martha stepped forward, her voice steady and bold. "We're not here to entertain you. We want what's right for this town." Larry sat back, his eyes narrowed as he observed the exchange, a look of calculating concern crossing his face. He knew the stakes. This was about to become more than just a simple disagreement, it was about the future of everyone in the room. "Right? This town is ready for progress," came the response, sharper than before. "And clinging to the past won't do you any good. Just step aside, and maybe I'll throw you a few crumbs." He gestured dismissively, as if the lives of the people around them held no value at all. Ryan's blood boiled. How could this man stand there, so sure of himself, while the townsfolk behind him held dreams for a future he could barely fathom? Ryan swallowed hard, feeling the flames of resolve burning away the fear that had threatened to engulf him moments before. "Enough!" he shouted. "You think you know better than us? You're blind to what this place means to the people who actually live here." His voice cracked slightly, but he pressed on, determination flooding his words. "We won't let you steamroll us into some corporate nightmare. We're not backing down." A ripple of surprise moved through the diner. Larry straightened up, a hint of admiration flashing in his eyes. Martha's expression shifted from concern to proud support. It was clear Ryan had struck a chord, and slowly, a murmur of agreement rose from the surrounding patrons. "See?" the corporate guy scoffed, though his bravado wavered, "this is juvenile. You'll never win against a company that has everything to lose by going up against the likes of you." "Maybe you don't see it," Ryan shot back, shaking slightly but pressing forward, "but strength comes from unity. And we've got more heart than your progress could ever produce." As tension crackled in the air, he felt something shift. The diner's atmosphere transformed, a palpable energy surged among them, rekindling the shared hope that had flickered during their meeting just moments before. "Who's with me?" Ryan called out, vulnerability mixing with defiance in his tone. "I am." Came a voice from the back, followed by another, then another. The voices grew bolder. The corporate man hesitated, disbelief etched onto his features as resistance filled the room. He hadn't expected to encounter a united front. Enough of this. He blustered, but his words felt small now, dwindling against the roaring affirmation of their resolve. Ryan met the eyes of Martha and Larry. They knew this wasn't the end, it was just the beginning. This was about claiming their power, their rights, and it felt like a fire igniting in their hearts. As the group rallied, Ryan felt an unexpected warmth flooding through him. He wasn't alone anymore. But in the chaos, one question lurked at the back of his mind: what would their newfound courage cost them? Before he could reflect too long, the corporate representative's smirk returned, touched by a flicker of malice. You think this ends well for you? I promise, this is just the first move in a much larger game. The words hung ominously in the air, a warning casting a shadow over the tiny triumph they just claimed. Ryan felt the stirrings of dread rise again, but he was determined to meet the challenge head-on. What could they lose? They would face whatever came next together. But with this newfound unity, could they truly be prepared for the fallout? As the corporate man turned to leave, Ryan felt a surge of adrenaline. The tension still crackled in the air, but it was a different energy now, a collective resolve that seemed to pulse through the room. The patrons were no longer just witnesses, they were participants in a defining moment. Wait! Ryan shouted. He feared the opportunity to really stand their ground was slipping away. The corporate rep paused, irritation etched on his face. This isn't just about you and your bottom line, Ryan continued, his voice stronger now. You might think you can dismiss us, but we are more than just a community, this is our home. We will stand together. Loud cheers erupted from the crowd. Martha beamed at Ryan, pride lighting up her eyes. Even Larry, who had been silently observing, nodded in agreement, powered by the rising tide of solidarity. Why don't you tell them why you're really here? Ryan challenged, stepping out toward the bewildered man. You want to come in and bulldoze through our history just to slap up some flashy development? You think that'll solve anything? You think money can replace our home? The corporate man clenched his fists, but Ryan could see the cracks forming in his confidence. You don't have the resources to fight me, he shot back, though there was less venom in his voice than before. We've got something money can't buy, Ryan retorted, his heart racing. We have each other. The diner erupted again, voices raised in agreement, rock-solid belief flowing like an unseen current. It was exhilarating, yet terrifying. Ryan recognized that they were perched on a precipice, there was no turning back now. As the corporate rep seethed, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of something significant even if it came with uncharted risks. He could practically hear the murmurs in the crowd, people leaning in, eyes glimmering with desire for change. Let us make it official, Martha said, her voice ringing clear. We'll take this to the town hall meeting next week. We demand a chance to present our case, to showcase what this place really means to us. The idea took root like wildfire. People began tossing around suggestions, plans forming rapidly. Ryan could hardly keep up with the enthusiastic energy, evoking images of a united front, posters, speeches, maybe even a petition. What if they gathered everyone? He could see it, his hometown filled with the familiar faces of neighbors, friends, standing side by side. Larry raised his hand, catching attention. I'll bring in the media, he announced. They need to hear our side of the story. Excitement surged through the crowd again, but Ryan could feel the weight pressing on him toward an inevitable revelation. They had rekindled hopes, but what lay ahead was still dimly lit by the shadows of uncertainty. Would explaining their love for their town be enough? Was passion enough to take on a corporate giant with deep pockets and legal shields? Then, just as hope blossomed, Ryan's gaze shifted. He saw the corporate man lingering just outside the diner. Their eyes locked for a split second, and Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that this man was not done fighting. As they began to form plans, Ryan's heart raced with a mixture of exhilaration and dread. He felt like a tightrope walker, balancing between ambition and fear. And in the depths of that moment, one question loomed large: did they really possess the strength to take on a powerful foe and win, or would they lose everything they had fought for? Because deep down, he knew the battle for their home was just beginning. And as the diner buzzed with the flurry of ideas, Ryan was left wondering how far the corporate man would go to crush their spirit. What had he set in motion, and what price would they all pay for staying true to their roots? The excitement in the diner felt electric as plans swirled around Ryan. Posters, speeches, a coordinated effort to rally the town. It was a whirlwind of ideas that filled the air with hope. He could see the passion in everyone's eyes. Martha's face shone like a beacon. She was ready to lead them into battle, and for the first time, Ryan felt it too. But the same exhilaration also weighed heavily on him like a loaded backpack, pressing down with every anxious thought. "Let us meet tomorrow night. Everyone should be there," someone suggested, the buzz flickering like a flame. Ryan nodded, even as he glanced back at the corporate man one last time. The rep was still outside, leaning against a well-polished car, a smug smirk dancing on his lips, as if he already knew how this would end. The sight made Ryan's stomach twist. What do they have that we don't? He wondered as fear started to gnaw at the edges of his resolve. "Tomorrow," Ryan said, rallying the group again. "We show up. We make our voices heard. We're not backing down. Not now." People cheered, they were ready to fight. And yet, each cheer was tinged with the uncertainty that loomed ahead. Ryan could almost hear the ticking clock echoing in his head. How many days could they hold this line? As they settled into smaller groups to hash out ideas, Ryan spotted Jenny, the local teacher, standing by the counter, fingers fidgeting nervously with her glasses. She was always a pillar in the community, but today, tears glimmered in her eyes. "Jenny?" Ryan approached her, concern wrapping around him like a warm hug. "What's wrong?" She shook her head as if trying to dispel her emotions. "I'm just worried, Ryan. What if we don't get the town to see? What if we fail? I can't shake the thought of losing this place. I grew up here. My heart is here." Ryan felt her fear mirror in his own heart. "This fight is worth it, Jenny. You know that. We won't lose if we stand united. If we show them our memories what this town means." But as the nervous flutter in his stomach morphed into a weighty rock, he realized he didn't even believe his own words. What if they were too small to stand up against the impenetrable wall of corporate greed? The clock ticked steadily. They had just a week until the town hall meeting, and every second felt like an eternity. The images of their quiet hometown being bulldozed played like a film in his mind. Memories of children playing in the park, neighbors chatting over garden fences, laughter echoing through the streets. How could anyone replace the vibrancy of that connection with cold steel and glass? "Ryan?" Martha's voice broke into his thoughts, drawing him back. "We need to come up with a plan for the media. I'll start drafting a press release. It needs to be powerful, impactful." He nodded, appreciating her determination. "Bring the kids in too, their voices matter." Everyone was buzzing again, but Ryan's gaze drifted back outside. The corporate man, still watching, as if merely awaiting them to make one misstep. "None of us back down now," Ryan whispered to himself, the flicker of doubt slowly transforming into fiery determination. They were a family, and together, they could do this. As plans unfolded and voices mingled, it became clear that the battle was more than about a development. It was about preserving who they were, a fight fueled by nostalgia and pride. But with every step they took, the weight of inevitable confrontation loomed larger. And whether they would stand strong or crumble under pressure remained an ominous question in Ryan's mind. But then again, what was the secret that corporate man was hiding? Would they find a hidden truth to turn the tide in their favor before it was too late? The next day felt heavy with anticipation. The sun rose slowly, casting long shadows over the quiet streets of the town. Ryan couldn't shake off the unsettling feeling that gnawed at him. The diner buzzed with energy as locals prepared for the meeting that night, but all he could think about was the corporate man. As neighbors filed into the diner, Ryan tried to push aside his anxiety. Martha was already at the front, scrolling through papers, her brow furrowed but determined. "We'll make a strong case tonight, Ryan. We just have to gather our stories. Everyone has something that connects them to this place." "Right," Ryan whispered, gathering his courage. He caught Jenny's eye across the room. She managed a weak smile but couldn't disguise the worry etched in her features. They needed more than just stories, they needed a spark of hope to ignite the fight. With the crowd settling around the table, Ryan took a deep breath. "All right, everyone. I know we've got a lot on our plates tonight. We need to show them just how much this community means to us. We'll highlight our memories, the heart and soul of our town. Who wants to start?" Voices rang out, and stories poured forth, tales of childhood games at the park, of friendships formed over backyard fences. There was laughter, but it was cut through with the sharp edge of reality. Each memory echoed the loss they could face. The more they shared, the more Ryan felt their collective spirit rise. He started to believe again. As plans solidified, they decided to create a visual representation of their town, a giant collage of photos, handwritten notes, and symbols of their lives. "Let us fill that board with everything that makes us who we are," Martha said, her enthusiasm contagious. "Let us build something they can't ignore." Hours passed. The diner morphed into a canvas of vibrant memories, each snapshot glued with pride and determination. Ryan worked tirelessly among his neighbors, smiling as they laughed together, the weight on his chest lifting, bit by bit. But then, in the corner of his eye, Ryan saw a glint of light reflecting off something familiar. The corporate man stood outside again, his phone pressed to his ear, a sinister grin playing at the corners of his mouth. Ryan's heart sank. Why was he still watching? "Are we ready for this?" Jenny's voice broke his focus. She stood beside him, worry now mingling with resolve. Ryan turned to her, feeling the warmth of determination replace doubt. "We can't let him intimidate us. We're fighting for our home." "Yes," Jenny said, her voice strengthening. "We have to believe in ourselves." The night approached in a rush, a kaleidoscope of emotions swirling within Ryan. As the clock neared 6, adrenaline kicked in. People began to gather faintly outside, and panic fluttered in Ryan's stomach. Would they have the courage to take a stand? As the meeting began, voices raised in solidarity echoed against the diner's walls. They were a chorus of hope and despair, a symphony of a community bonding over shared dreams. But in the back of Ryan's mind, a question remained: what exactly did the corporate man have planned? What was he hiding? Just as Ryan felt the energy shift in their favor, he noticed a figure creeping towards the entrance, a familiar black suit and an unreadable expression. Ryan's breath hitched. This was it. They had to confront the truth tonight. And suddenly, in the dim light of the diner, the answer lay just within reach. What did the corporate man want that could change their lives forever? The diner's atmosphere crackled with raw energy. Ryan felt every heartbeat amplify the tension in the room. There, standing in the doorway, was the corporate man. He stepped inside like a shadow, cutting through the warmth of the gathered community. Eyes turned, murmurs rippling as they recognized him. The air seemed to thicken, a mixture of fear and defiance. "Evening, everyone," he said, his voice smooth but carrying an edge that sent shivers down Ryan's spine. "I couldn't resist seeing what all the fuss was about." Martha straightened, forcing confidence into her voice. "This isn't just a fuss. This is our home, and we're not backing down." "Home?" The corporate man chuckled, leaning casually against the counter. "You're clinging to the past. Times change, and this little town is due for a makeover. Trust me, your nostalgia won't save you." Fury ignited in Ryan's chest. "You don't understand what this place means to us, to everyone here." He gestured around the diner, catching the eyes of friends and neighbors, each one silently pleading for him to hold strong. "Oh, I think I do." The man's gaze swept across the crowd, evaluating, calculating. "But let's be real. Change is inevitable. You can resist, but I assure you it won't lead to anything good." "Is that a threat?" Jenny blurted out, her voice breaking the uneasy silence. The corporate man turned to her, eyes narrowing, a smirk lingering. No, Jenny, no threats, he replied, feigning innocence. Just a business opportunity that your little community doesn't seem capable of understanding. As the swell of murmurs escalated, Ryan felt a wave of urgency wash over him. This wasn't just his fight anymore, it was for each face gathered around the diner, for every story shared just hours earlier. Let us talk, Ryan said, stepping forward. You say we need to understand. Then tell us what you really want. The room held its breath, caught between hope and despair. A flicker of surprise crossed the corporate man's face. Straight to business. I appreciate that, he said, sliding further into the diner. I'm here to build a shopping center. More jobs, better money flow by destroying our community? Interrupted Martha, anger simmering. By tearing apart the very fabric that holds us together? He shrugged, as if the matter was trivial. It's progress. No, it's destruction, Ryan insisted, feeling a surge of strength. What you're calling progress will erase everything we've built. This town is alive with memories. We can't allow you to just bulldoze that away. We're not just folks stuck in the past. We're a family. With those words hanging heavy in the air, Ryan saw heads nodding. A shared understanding ignited. From the back, someone shouted, "We won't let you take this from us." The corporate man's smile faltered. You think you can win? This isn't just about you. I have resources, money, power. You're outmatched. For the first time, his facade began to crack. Maybe, Ryan replied, feeling the strength of his community surge behind him. But we have something you can't buy, heart. And tonight, we're going to show you we won't back down. As the room erupted into shouts of agreement, Ryan caught sight of Jenny, her eyes sparkling with determination. They were ready to fight, ready to believe. But just as hope swelled, the corporate man's phone buzzed. He glanced down, an ominous expression crossing his face. Well, I guess I'll have to step up my game, he said, his voice turning cold. You'll regret underestimating me. As he turned to leave, Ryan's heart raced. What did that mean? As the door shut behind him, the room erupted in conversation, confusion mingling with resolve. What's his next move? Ryan wondered aloud. In that moment, Ryan realized they were not just fighting for their homes, they were standing on the brink of a battle for their very identity. The stakes were higher than ever, and as panic surged through the diner, one question loomed larger than all others: what was the corporate man truly capable of when cornered? The town hall meeting buzzed with anxious energy. For days, the atmosphere had weighed heavily on Ryan's shoulders. People gathered in murmurs, exchanging worried glances as they prepared for the confrontation that would either define or destroy their community. Life in Middle America had always been simple, built on shared laughter, home-cooked meals, and the ever-familiar chatter of neighbors. Now, it teetered on the edge of a precipice. I can't believe we're actually doing this, Jenny said beside him, her fingers twisting nervously as they stepped into the crowded hall. What if it doesn't go well? Then we go out swinging, Ryan replied, attempting to fill his own voice with confidence. No matter what happens, the LLC we're united. Inside, the wooden seats were filled with familiar faces, friends and families, united in purpose. Ryan climbed to the wooden podium at the front, his heart racing as he faced the sea of expectant eyes. He took a deep breath, the air thick with anticipation. This is our chance to show them how much this community means to us. He began, his voice trembling then steadying as passion surged. It's not just a plot of land to be sold for staggering profits. It's our home. It's about every family that built this place, every child who plays in the park. We're not backing down. Applause erupted, echoing through the hall. A fire engulfed the room. Brian felt the warmth of gratitude wash over him like he'd just emerged from a storm. But the corporate man was there, sitting at the back with a prisoner's gaze, listening intently. It made Ryan's heartbeat quicken. Would he respond? Would he try to undermine everything they built? The uncertainty clawed at his mind. Martha took the podium next, her voice striking like a bell. This fight is about our legacy, our stories that make up who we are. Standing strong together shows what we can accomplish. Our connection is worth fighting for. More applause surged through the room. Each speaker added to the collective resolve, igniting flames of tenacity among everyone gathered. The tide had turned, the community's heart beating as one. But where was the corporate man? What would he say? And then it happened. The corporate man rose, an inscrutable smile plastered on his face. Impressive, he sneered. But you're fighting against reality. Progress doesn't stop. The future is coming whether you like it or not. Ryan clenched his fists but remained calm, aware of everyone watching him. You call this progress, but what you're offering is a hollow future built on greed. We're fighting for the soul of our town, for the people who poured their lives into it. Your version of better feels empty. Whispers rippled through the crowd, doubt creeping in for the first time. It was a game of wills, but as their eyes locked, Ryan sensed a crack in the corporate man's bravado. Why don't you show us what real progress means? Ryan challenged, a collective breath held in anticipation. Invest in our community. Work with us. Partner, don't conquer. Help us flourish, not crush us. The silence that followed felt electric. Something shifted in the air, a shared weight lifting. Ryan could feel the warmth from the townsfolk behind him. They were ready to break these walls of division. Why should we? The corporate man shot back, his voice strained. I have chances to offer better jobs, wealth which come at the expense of our family and friends, Martha interjected, her voice calm yet fierce. Jobs come and go, but community lasts forever, and it's what sets this place apart. You may have money, but do you have a heart? At that moment, something was unveiled, the corporate man faltered, words trapped in his throat. Tonight, he said finally, I will make an offer. A development plan that promises jobs and investment. Ryan shook his head, the community bubbling with hope around him. But not at the cost of our past. The laughter from the crowd exploded like fireworks in the night sky, and for the first time, Ryan saw uncertainty shine through the corporate man's facade. With every story shared, every heart laid bare, they infused a sense of history into the fabric of their fight. There was overwhelming power in their unity, of force even he couldn't ignore. Let us have a moment of silence for those who came before us. Ryan's voice rang true. The room fell silent, the weight of lost dreams heavy in the air. For the memories we want to preserve, the laughter that echoes here. That will always matter more than a shiny new building. As the silence stretched, the undeniable truth radiated through the room. Every person there felt it. The laughter, the heartaches, the friendships, they formed an invincible bond. The corporate man shifted uncomfortably, scanning the faces around him, seemingly caught between worlds. Ryan leaned into the moment. I'll offer you this, he declared, let us form a plan together, bringing everyone to the table. Help us grow the right way. The room erupted in applause, renewed hope swirling, a commitment to community blooming before their very eyes. The corporate man cleared his throat, visibly shaken. You can't be serious. The offer is generous, we'll make more money not if it destroys what matters most. You can't buy this heart. In that instant, something flickered across the corporate man's face. Just a hint of realization. Maybe they planted a seed deep enough to grow. As the night drew to a close, Ryan felt it, a palpable shift. The future didn't belong to anyone but the townsfolk who believed in a community worth preserving. And as everyone filtered out of the meeting, their shoulders square, hearts filled with purpose, Ryan knew they had ignited something unstoppable. Whatever came next, whether the corporate man bowed out or fought back, they had emerged together. The heart of their town was alive again, vibrant and unyielding. They were no longer just a community, they were an unstoppable force. And Ryan understood now, progress wasn't merely building and development. It was in nurturing the roots that ran deep within their soil, binding them together in this beautiful, unwavering fight, the fight that truly mattered. In that moment, he felt the weight of hope in his heart, shining like a beacon. Together, they would rise. And with that, Ryan stood proud, knowing that they would carry the light of their legacy into whatever darkness approached. Every story, every life intertwined. No one would take that from them. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. And most importantly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans know the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.